Welcome back to another episode of the South by East podcast, where we discuss everything from the scriptures, the culture, and in between. Brail.
Yes, sir, man. I'm loving you. You shot me this video a little while ago, actually. Or actually, I shot this one to you.
Yeah, you
I
shot
did.
this
I
one
shot
to
this
me.
one to you.
Yeah.
Man, this was a really dope video. The lady in here was just talking about something that I think we've discussed as well. Of we're having more conversations around mental health now than we ever had,
Yeah.
but yet we're not seeing people become more resilient, which we would think would be the goal. And so I just really love the way that she articulated this. So we're going to check this out, share this with y'all, and then give you some of our thoughts as well. Let's check this out.
I'm not exactly sure how it's happened, but I'll give you my take on it, right? We've never talked about mental health more before, yet somehow we've become weaker because instead of building emotional strength, we've built a culture that rewards emotional fragility. We've made it normal to break down over minor inconveniences. We've convinced people that if something makes them uncomfortable, it must be harmful. We've created a world where feelings aren't just acknowledged, they're treated like the absolute truth. And we know that feelings are not facts. And here's what that looks like in real life. Discomfort is mistaken for danger. If a conversation makes you uneasy, it must be toxic. If a person challenges you, they must be unsafe. If a situation feels hard, it must be harming you. Boundaries are also being used as walls. Instead of learning how to have difficult conversations, we shut people out completely. Instead of addressing issues, we disappear and call it self-preservation, or I'm protecting my peace or my mental health.
Whew. And she needs to get her teeth fixed because she continues to spit truth. Facts. The whole clip. You guys can see the whole clip there, man. Man, John, what stands out to you, man, as you watch that clip?
I believe that the scriptures are true. And I also believe that all truth is not in the scriptures.
Okay.
I believe there's truth outside of scriptures, and
Yeah.
I'm going to count that toward
That's some truth.
that's
Yeah.
outside of scripture.
That's some truth.
And so, man, I'm gonna tell you, being a leader is hard these days because of what she says, and you heard me say this. My team close to me always. I'm like, some people just need to adult. Like, man, it's called adult. Put on your big girl underwear,
pants, whatever.
your big boy underwear, and you gotta get it.
Get to it.
And man, it's like, I don't know why people think that life is gonna go perfectly. Bro, I plan out every single one of my days, and I have yet to have, like, look, I've had some good days. Whether you like Reverend Paul Brown or
Morris, yeah. I had some hills to climb. Yeah.
Whether you like him or whether you like Ice Cube, I've had
Bishop
some
Paul
good
Morton.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah, Bishop Paul Morton. Or I've had some good days. I've had some bad days. But man, look, the deal is I've still had to function.
Right.
And here's the deal. I believe you cheapen something when you start calling things that are not that thing.
Yeah.
And I think that is a part of what's happening, man, is that anytime things don't go exactly your way or people don't give you your way, it's trauma or it's like it just goes so and it's like, no, fam, this is truth that you need to hear. Like, you're not performing. Or
and man, there's like we've definitely, you talk about this all the time, man. We swing back and forth in culture. And so we went through a period where everybody needs to man up, everybody need to go, and then we've swung into a period of everybody needs to be coddled and everybody needs to be taken care of. But you always see a little bit of both at all times. And when I was younger, there was this phrase that as I became adult, I stopped ever wanting to hear. And I heard it from a particular individual that I knew who had some real toxic ways in their life. And anytime someone would try to bring that up to them, like, hey, maybe you have more money if you stop spending money you don't have. Maybe, hey, man, I don't know that I'm gonna lend you money this time. And they would say, well, that's just the way I am. Or God's not done with me yet.
So-
and it's like, I hated hearing that because it's like, well, I'm never going to be any better. You should just accept me how I am and where I am. And I'm like, no, fam. If I'm really your brother in Christ, if I'm really your friend, I want to call you to be healthy. And that's what there's this fight against of being healthy.
Look, when I was still single, I used to get asked to speak at a lot more singles conferences, Christian singles conferences. And man, my message would always be the same. And people would get like, man, the dudes would get really mad. And here's why. I had so many Christian female friends. And I would hear the outfall of them not following this advice over and over again. They would come, and I'm like, fam, here's the deal. One, the first man that God made had two things. He had a job, and he had a relationship with God. And I tell him, the one you get with needs to have the same two deals.
Things.
And then the third one is, I tell him, I say, look, for both guys and girls, I say, look, don't date in isolation. Make sure that you bring that man or that female, make sure you bring them around your biblical community. You spend time with your biblical community with that person, and you let them observe you with that person. You let them get to know that person before you go too deep in that thing. And over again, they won't, and then they get into these things, and then something happens, and you're like, fam, I tell you about these three things all the time. Like, did you? Like, nah, like he won't do. And I'm like, please don't come. Or when it comes to kids and sports, kids and activities, not just sports.
Yep.
Dance, whatever else. Like, and they like, oh, can you talk to my kid? Can you mentor? I'm like, no, man, you need to go to that. You need to go to that coach or that activity leader.
Your priorities. If it's a priority for them to be in, if you want them to have community, it should be a priority for them to be in community.
And so,
if it's not,
look,
if it's not a priority for you, then how can it be a priority for me?
Look, and here, like, my wife is a mental health therapist, and she's and we have these talks, and I'm real serious about, like, my kids. They struggle with certain things, and I said, look, yeah, they might need some help. We're gonna get all the therapy we can get. We're gonna get occupational therapy, mental health therapy, physical therapy if it's needed. We're gonna do all the exercises. We're gonna do all kind of things. They're gonna have medications if they need it. And there's gonna be some behaviors that are just absolutely not tolerated, not accepted, and I don't care. And if my kid who is on medicine can say, "Well, I didn't have my medicine today. That's what made me act that way," I'm like, no, because the fact that you will try to point to that lets me know that you're trying to use that to get out of this situation.
You can get 2 cc's of this belt. All my kids know,
Man, look.
like, hey, all my kids know I had to catch one of my kids lacking the other day. They thought they had the right to walk out of the house because dad said, hey, I'm not really spanking a lot anymore. I don't think it's been effective. They caught it that day and they're like, what's going on? I said, hey, this was appropriate for here. And it's always in a balance, right? So I take ADHD medication. When I was in high school, I was diagnosed with ADHD. Started getting on medication. I'd always forget to take my medication. I had so many side effects. It was affecting my mood. It was affecting my mental health. I had a real hard time. As a senior, I went to my psychiatrist, and I was like, hey, I'm making the decision to come off of my medication. I think what I need now is not medication, but I have the tools. I need discipline. And this medication is actually making it hard for me to focus on what I need to do. I'm about to hunker down. I'm going to pass high school and get out here and do what I need to do. Psychiatrist was like, I don't know, but hey, it's your choice. My mom was like, okay. I went through. I passed high school. I didn't do well, but I passed. Made it into college. Started doing what I needed to do in college. About a year in, realized, hey, I'm having a lot of struggles. Got medication for a month. That's all I could afford. Got medication for a month. Put in some habits and some rhythms. Did what I needed to do. Went through college the rest of the way. Now, once I came into this job, I realized, hey, there are some reoccurring things that I am not at my best without this medication, right? But
Yeah.
it's like there was a balance there. Yes, I needed some medication. There was some help I needed, but also there was some discipline and some structure and some growth that I needed. The thing that I think that people refuse to accept is that life is hard. Life comes with trials and tribulations and challenges and difficulties. And when you try to shortcut that, you are only harming yourself because life doesn't become less hard. You just become more avoidant of life's challenges and they continue to mount up on you.
Braille, you've heard me preach about this before. You've heard me speak about this in our team meetings before. I say one of the biggest setups in life you can do is what? Do you remember what I say? Is the thing that once I get past this thing,
Oh yeah, that everything will be great. This is the last thing.
oh,
This
and
is
it's
the
not.
last thing. It's
And
never is.
man, it's like you said, life is hard, and you're gonna continue to have challenges, man. And that's a part of this. Like even if you're a believer, man, Jesus said what in this world,
life you will have trouble.
troubles. And man, I just don't know why there's so many people that just think, man, this thing is just gonna fly by. This is gonna be easy. The other, there was just last night. We were out. I was cooking burgers for the family. Two of the kids wanted to help me cook burgers. One of them wanted to help with mama. It's about right. It's the two that always, that's the split. And but then my daughter was out there with me alone, and she said, "Daddy, sometimes it's hard being a kid." And I said, "Yeah, baby, it is." And I said, "Baby, you know what? Sometimes it's hard being an adult." And so
Right.
I'm like, so I feel you. I feel you all the way. And it's just like one of those deals of that recognition. And it was like in that moment, we just kind of, as the burgers cooked, we just kind of like shook our head like we get it. We get it from both ends of this spectrum, right? And there's a book I read not too long ago. It was last year called The Anxious Generation. I really, really encourage people to pick that up, or just how we're making this generation more anxious than ever. And man, it's just, but we got to get out of this. I think so much we have done of coddle when it comes to, now there's an extreme to everything. I think in some ways where people have put so much into like competitive sports where it's unhealthy for kids. I'm against the everybody wins, we can't keep score deal.
Right.
And I'm like, because look, they need to learn how to deal with losing early in life.
Yep.
And that's part of the problem, man. You get to youth ministry and you got kids that ain't never lost. And then when y'all play a game and they lose, they don't know how to handle it.
Right.
And now they're gonna disrupt everybody deal. Or they get to college and they ain't never lost. And I'm like, man, we got to quit this, man. And or they get on the job for the first time and they get real
never
feedback.
Been criticized, never been critiqued, never grown.
And it's like, man, look, this is gonna happen. And like I can't believe like when the first time I heard that somebody had their parents call their college professor. I'm like, what is wrong with you? That college professor ain't talking to your parent. Like what is wrong with you? And so it's just like one of those deals where, I mean, I've even heard of people like having their parents come up on their job. And I'm like, look,
That's crazy.
Fam, your parent is not the employee.
No.
And it's just some of this stuff is so out of hand. And I feel like that is part of the issue. That is part of the issue what we're dealing with. There's just a lack of accountability. There's a lack of taking responsibility a lot of times.
Yep.
And, I like to joke with my kids all the time. My daughter, she was saying one day, I don't know if I want to go to middle school. I'm not going to middle school. And I told her, I said, you know what, baby? Look, you know what? Daddy never want to make you do anything you don't want to do. But Daddy's going to give you another set of choices. And I just said, if you decide that you don't want to go to middle school, then you're going to have to face the choice of where you're going to live.
Right.
I mean, that's just one of those deals, man. And I'm like, I just tell them, I said, every choice you make in life is going to come with some, and don't play victim.
And that's why I think it's important that we equip kids and adults with tools to help them be resilient and to problem solve. So like when we do these mental health concerts, in the school. John knows, y'all might not know. We do these mental health concerts in the schools, and really it's not just for kids, it's actually for all, but right now we're focusing on the schools. And in these concerts, I'm taking techniques that I've learned from therapists and trauma-informed occupational therapists, but I'm not using them to label and coddle students. We're using them to give students tools in their tool belt so that they can react. Because I be in the school. When a kid act out of turn, I want them to get busted. I don't want the teacher. I don't actually want the teacher to put their hands on them. But I'm like, I want that student to suffer those consequences and to know that there's a level of respect that they have to hold in that space, and for all the other students and for them other teachers. What I want to help the student do is not to get in trouble less. I want the student to have the ability to react differently so that they don't incur those consequences, or so that when they receive those consequences, they can learn from those consequences. Because that is important. And so many times I see us just giving people outs.
So I have to do IEP for all three of my kids. And one of the things I tell the school, like when they call me, I say, hey, first of all, I need you to know that we're not the parents that believe everything our kids tell us. And they said, we know, Mr. Sublett, we wish we had more parents like you. and like, I know my kids have some different things. And we work, like, man, we work with their therapists. We work with everything to try to put the right plan in place for their IEP. But then even after that, they know, like, I'll go up and have conversations with my kid there, and I'll look at them, right? And we'll have real talks. And they know what their responsibility is. And then I'll tell the teacher,
Right.
here is my number. Don't call mama.
Call me.
Call me. If they feel like they can't, like with all the supports we're giving, they can't do what they're supposed to do, don't call mama.
Call me.
Call me. And I'm going to make a trip. Right? And that's the deal is, and the teachers and administrators will all say like, oh, there was a step change difference.
Yeah.
Once that conversation
Yeah.
happened in front of us. And I'm like, And I'm like, there has to be something to this.
Yeah. But there's, and I don't want to stay on this long because I know our time is running low. But man, I can't remember who I was talking about with this, but I was like, man, my kids do react different to their mom than they do to me. And I'm like, there are times in my kids' lives when, because of the role I hold in their life, I can't comfort them the way that their mother does. So the role that she has in their life is important. There are times they're going to run to her and they need that.
Yes.
And I have set myself up as the disciplinarian of the home. They know when dad comes in, things get enforced, things move, and things go. And they need that also. And that's, as a society, that balance, how God created man and woman in his image, that balance is so important as a community. We need to recognize when people have struggles and they need additional help. We need to recognize when they may need medication or they may need certain types of therapy. We need to get them in training. And we need to bust some kids' butts and fire some people. Both of those things are important. Like, you have to have a balance. In either way, you create toxic communities if you're out of balance. And that's all I'm arguing for. I'm like, hey, man, let's recognize what's going on and help people move towards health.
Boundaries are healthy. Boundaries are healthy. I look, we'll let people act a complete butt, and we'll say it's because we want to dignify them or whatever else. But you'll allow them to undignify everybody else. And that's not dignifying.
Nope.
That's not dignifying.
Nope.
And we gotta stop that.
Yeah.
We gotta stop that. Where it's like everybody else can be treated like trash for the good of this person. No.
Nope. And if you're in that place, I recognize that. And that's why organizations like Scent exist that offer mental health resources. On one of our previous episodes, we made reference to that.
But I want to put it, look, I tell my staff this. One of the thing that Scent was built on was every single person has infinite dignity, value, and worth. We believe that about every person that walks through the door, including my staff. So if you come through the doors and you talk bad to my staff or somebody else here, I'm kicking you out. And I have no ill feeling about it. If you treat somebody bad, I'm kicking you out and we're not serving you. Because my staff also has infinite dignity, value, and worth. And we'll tell you, you can no longer get services here. because my staff also has infinite dignity, value, and worth. You can make a choice to go somewhere else. We truly want to serve you and honor your dignity, value, and worth, but you're going to honor ours on the same way, or you can go somewhere else.
Yeah. Dignified environments produce dignified people. But what do y'all think, man? Do y'all believe that this generation is just too soft, or do y'all believe that we're moving in the right direction? We want to have the conversation with you in the comments.
Come on.
So we'll see you there. Like, comment, subscribe, share this with somebody who you'd like to have a conversation with. don't aim it on them, but share it with somebody you'd like to have a conversation with, and we will see you next week in the intersection.